KUGR. Cougar Radio.
Good morning, Cougs. You are listening to Slice of Seattle on KUGR. Cougar College Radio is an absolutely beautiful day on the Palouse because we are back. It has been weeks since we've been in the booth, able to record an episode. I am pumped to be back, and I'm in booth today with Connor Simmons and Connor Seiferling. How are we doing today, boys?
What up, what up? Doing pretty good.
Absolutely stoked to be back in Pullman, baby.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. There's so much news to get to, but one of the first things we want to talk about is the fact that we are officially rebranding as a podcast. It will no longer be called Slice of Seattle with an I. It is officially Slice of Seattle with a Y. I had a friend, our close friend of ours, Madi Tenney, he texted me. He was like, hey, you should really think about changing the name to Slice of Seattle with a Y. Your last name's Sly. It makes sense. S-L-Y-E.
I like that.
I heard that, and I was like, where have you been for the past 5 months? This is stuff I needed yesterday. So we're officially rebranding. We're using that. But this is the season finale for this year of Slice of Seattle. Last episode we're going to do for a couple months. We'll be back probably around August, around September. But do keep your head up. We will probably do an episode over the summer, a little short one for any news that comes out about the Seahawks, Mariners, Kraken, because definitely it will be in the heart of the Seattle Mariners season. We're not going to talk a lot about Cougar sports right now. The only thing we'll talk about is the fact that, hey, Cam Ward, first overall pick, former Coug, and then Kyle Williams going to the Patriots, wide receiver. So, I mean, hey, go Cougs.
Go Cougs. Good picks by the Titans, obviously, and then good picks by the Patriots. Because Kyle Williams, you didn't know where he was going to go. A lot of teams loved him, and we all loved him here, so shout out those Cougs.
Highest wide receiver draft pick in Cougar history, and the highest since 2019. This was a special year to be a Coug fan.
Oh yeah, 100%. But that's what we'll talk a little bit more about the draft, specifically the Seahawks picks, but also just some overall stuff too, especially about Shedeur Sanders, talking about that as well.
Yeah.
But hey, let's jump in. Let's talk about the Mariners, hottest team in baseball, baby.
Damn right.
5 straight series wins. We got our first series win at Fenway in, I think, 11 years. It has been forever since we've won there. And don't get me wrong, the Red Sox are a great team. So the fact that we got out of Fenway with 2 wins blows my mind. Great hitting and great pitching. So that was a great series out of the Mariners.
Oh, no doubt about it. And just we're hitting the ball.
Yes.
That we've talked about the whole year. Sadly, with pitchers going down, George Kirby's coming back. But pitching's been on point. Munoz is up there in saves already, one of the top leaders. It's been a good season, actually. Like, we're hot. We've won so many series already. The bats are staying hot. Whoa.
Yeah.
From 1 to 9.
Yeah.
We're doing really good. Like, no one is truly struggling, like, horrible right now.
No.
Or we do have to talk about it. But I'm very impressed so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, since that giant sweep earlier in the season where Victor Robles went down, it's been an Astros series win, Rangers series win, Blue Jays series win, Reds series win, and Red Sox series win.
Yes.
And those are, none of those teams are like spectacular in my opinion, but none of those teams are terrible either. We are beating average to above average teams
Playoff
right
potential
now.
teams.
We're beating playoff potential teams. We're giving ourselves a leg up in the division too, which is
huge.
extremely
We're
important
leading
given how just influx this division tends to be on a year-to-year basis. And you guys are absolutely right. We're just, top to the bottom of the order. Rowdy Tellez has had a couple great games just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Cal Raleigh had that home run streak where he was just rolling and rolling and rolling, and he's still rolling, right?
Tied for first.
He's tied for first in home runs right now. The power is going through. It's just we're playing games to the potential that this team can actually live up to.
Yeah. No, look, I have Cal Raleigh on my fantasy baseball team, and we were talking about that slew of home runs that he had. I feel like every single day I kept getting notifications. It was just Cal Raleigh home run, Cal Raleigh home run, Cal Raleigh home run. He's part of the reason why I'm on a 3-week winning streak right now in fantasy baseball, mainly just because of Cal Raleigh. But, when you talk about the consistency right now from the Mariners bats, if you were watching the Mariners at the start of the year, you probably were hearing a lot of people talk about the fact that we were averaging, I think, 2 runs a game, which was abysmal. It was awful. It was not you can't win baseball games that way. And it was why we lost some of those first series of the years, why we tied a series with the Athletics. But now you look to right now, we're putting up double-digit scoring performances against the Reds, against the Astros, against the Rangers, against the Blue Jays. We're actually starting to score more runs. And even last night, start off the home series against the Marlins. You lost that one 8-4. You still put up 4 runs. That's a pretty good performance offensively. Home run from Dylan Moore, 3-run shot from Jorge Polanco. And hey, Jorge Polanco, Dylan Moore, their shoulders have got to be aching right now how much they're carrying this team. Those guys have just been hitting the ball. Dylan Moore was AL Player of the Week. But I do think that the hitting from up and down the lineup has been really consistent, and Julio isn't even hot yet. And I say like he's not hot yet. He's still hitting okay, but he's not at his peak yet. I think when we get peak Julio, this team's gonna start winning more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you bring in that star power, that's just gonna like unlock the rest of the team for sure. I'm not convinced that's gonna happen yet. I think it needs maybe a couple more months, but I mean every Seattle fan is banking on that potential coming through at some point, and I definitely think it's still there. But yeah, like you said, down just from top to the bottom of the lineup, this is where it matters most, is staying consistent. And you're right, like 4 runs, like it doesn't jump off the charts, but when we had 0 and 1 run games consistently at the start of the year, and then also we were losing a lot of these games 3-2, 3-1, and it's like those are winnable baseball games, but it's because the offense can't do crap. And so you're totally right with that.
Well, I agree with what you said with the consistency part. We got such a long season. We're doing good right now. We're doing good right now. And I would still say the early part of the season, and we are first in the division right now. It's just a matter of keeping it up.
Yep.
If Julio gets hot, but no one else is hot, it doesn't matter. So just stay consistent, please. Please.
Yeah. I mean, historically speaking, looking at the past 2 years, the Mariners do really good at the start of the year. Like they'll right now is when they get really hot. And then right about the middle of the season is where they just, like, around the All-Star break, it's just completely fall apart. And they fall off.
Then we fight back for nothing.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Exactly.
You fall behind so much that even though you have a really, like historic, like, Julio has been known to have, like, historic years in, like, July and August or something like that. But and then or September. And then it amounts to nothing because they've dug themselves into such a hole that they can't get out of it. So yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm pumped that we have 5 straight series wins and that we're one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. But do I think that it could 100% change like that? This is baseball we're talking about. 162 games, so they could always change. But we got to keep. I mean, but I will say, the signs that I'm seeing from this team, specifically, you got like Ben Williamson, for example, absolute stud, STUD. He's coming into these games playing. Yeah, B-dub, dude. I mean, playing third base. Defensively, offensively, a star. I think that he has potential to be a cornerstone of the Mariners if he keeps playing like this.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't follow his come up super well, but seeing him since he's gotten here has been phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
And that middle infield area, or just even any part of the infield besides first base, has always been a revolving, actually even first base itself, has been a revolving door of people. It's like J.P. Crawford's our shortstop, and that's all we've pretty much known.
Yeah.
Dylan Moore has been in and out of the starting lineup over the past few years. Third base, like Polanco had a sucky season last year and has dealt with injuries, so that's been in flux. So to have a guy that's like, oh my gosh, we can plug and play him, and we're going to feel fairly confident on a night-to-night basis that he is going to perform, whether it's on the offense or defensive end, that solves so many problems that we've been dealing with at that position.
Yeah. No, 100%. We were talking about this before we went on air. Jorge Polanco should not be playing in the field right now. He should not be playing third base, second base. Initially, our plan was to have him be our starting third baseman because he wouldn't have to, with his knee, he doesn't have to move around as much. He can stay a little immobile, heal up a little bit. But to be perfectly honest with you, keep platooning him. I think right now he's most healthy batting from the right side. So just keep platooning him he's most healthy from the left side. So I'd say keep platooning him against right-handed pitchers because if he's just DHing, right, he does so well. He had a 3-run home run last night. He was DHing, he's not in the field. I think that's perfect. You use him where he's healthy, and you get some pretty consistent production out of him, and then you're able to work other guys into the lineup who can actually get some hits too. And again, like, I'm not the biggest fan of platooning guys because I think, I like to have guys who are cornerstones, they're going to be starting every single day. But at the end of the day, the approach seems to be working. Being able to platoon guys, we're able to put up a lot of runs. And if it works, again, like we said, we were talking about this too. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Like, if it's been working, don't try and mess with it too much. I don't want to see Jorge Polanco be, he should never be starting in the infield, I think, for maybe a lot this year.
Yeah, and if we have Ben Williamson and Dylan Moore backing him up, then we've got to feel pretty good about ourselves and continuing that strategy. The resurgence of Jorge Polanco, I think, is going to be the story of the season. I'm so interested to see if it continues to stay on the same path that it is. Because, again, with the way he played last year, like, this guy is not a guy I expected to have multiple home runs already at this point in the season. Be batting, I don't know what he's batting, but he's up there on the team, right?
Yeah.
Like, for this guy to be playing the way that he is right now, I am feeling very good about being a Mariners fan.
Absolutely. And then the other thing we want to talk about, too, we mentioned the fact, Julio, he's not hot right now, right? Julio is a guy who, you look back to 2022, you know, all-star candidate, home run derby, semifinalist, you know. He's not hot yet. If he's hot, he can do a lot of damage, right? So he's been in the leadoff spot in this 2-hole right now, bouncing up and down between those two spots. The question is, one, I don't think he's performing like a 1-hole or 2-hole hitter. So the question is, do you move him down in the order, maybe the 5 or 6-hole? I think that's the question. Would that be better for him to move him where he's, you know, get somebody else in the 1 or 2-hole who's actually producing right now?
Yeah, I haven't gotten keeping him at the top of the order recently. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If he's not a guy that's hitting like a 1 or 2 guy in the lineup, why keep him there? There's some other guys that you could definitely move up in the lineup who are more consistent and are feeling better. And I think if you work him up slowly, just like you were saying, in the 5, I think you can drop him as low as 6 if you really felt like it, right? And I don't see the problem with that.
No, absolutely. And the last little bit of news we'll talk about for the Mariners last night against the Marlins, Logan Gilbert left the game. He had forearm tightness. He came out in about the 4th inning, which when you really get down to it, a lot of these starters for us, Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller, we're expecting them to go we're expecting them to go maybe 6, maybe 7 innings to put together a pretty quality start. So the fact that he came out in the 4th inning is a little bit frustrating, and that's 100% why we lost that game. We put up 4 runs, which is a good performance, but we still we gave up 8 runs. We had, I think, the Williams was the guy we had come in relief. He put in a really long relief stint.
Yeah.
And the fact that he just couldn't get out of it, gave up back-to-back hits and everything like that. They put up 8 runs. That's a rough one for the Mariners. But at the end of the day, it was mainly just because you had to go to your bullpen that early. You know, right? Our bullpen just isn't that good. So the quote from Logan Gilbert after that game, talking about the injury, he said, "It didn't get a ton worse, but it usually goes away. It just didn't go away." Not very encouraging because, I mean,
I don't like that quote.
You lean on guys like him too much, you end up breaking them. I mean, George Kirby's been out, and now you're losing Logan Gilbert. And we mentioned it, George Kirby's probably going to come back pretty soon, but it's like putting out fires. You just put out this one, but now another one pops up again.
Yeah.
And I don't think if this is a team that wants to make it to the playoffs, which I think we are, you can't survive if you keep losing guys like Logan Gilbert and George Kirby at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't even know who's up next after Emerson Hancock. We're going to have to probably pull from AAA.
Probably Luis F. Castillo.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And I've seen his like 2 starts a season or whatever it is.
They're awful. Yeah.
Awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I could be wrong, but I want to say like his first start, he gave up like 4 runs in the first inning, and then it was just downhill from there. And I'm like, dude, this is the wrong Luis Castillo. Like, what are we doing?
He has so much potential too, man.
Yeah, and it's just like, come on, like. So yeah, that's tough. I'm hoping it's as simple as like day-to-day or 10-day IL or something like that. That's the goal, especially because I don't know if we know the exact timeable on George Kirby yet, but you know, he's been out for long enough that it's like, we need you to come back soon, man, because just with the way the rotation is, we can't sustain that long term. And that's been, as much as we talk about the hitting, that's been a sustaining part of the team, has been the pitching holding up for the back end of the hitting.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be important to stay healthy.
No, absolutely. You know, that's going to do it for the Mariners on today's show. We're going to move in. We're going to talk about the Seattle draft here in a second. We're going to take a quick break. Please stay with us. Again, you're listening to Slice of Seattle on KUGR. Don't tune out right now. We will be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Slice of Seattle on KUGR, Cougar College Radio. Smith Slide, joined with Connor Simmons and Connor Seiferling. We just got done talking about the Mariners. Let's move in. Let's talk about the Seahawks and the 2025 draft. Look, first pick in the draft for the Seahawks, Gray Zabel, North Dakota State. Finally, we drafted some O-Linemen. I am pumped about this pick. I mean, I was talking to you about this before. Do I think that Gray Zabel is going to absolutely fix the Seahawks and that's going to be, the dominant O-line now? No,
Well,
but it's a
yeah.
good start.
Well, and like you said, it's only one part of one piece. It's only 20% of the line. You know what I'm saying? 1 of 5. But he's a great start. Who doesn't like a big white country boy down in the trenches, where he's drafted and the camera's on him, he's in his own cabin, just chugging down Busch Lights with his family.
Exactly.
Or he's just a big dude from, North Dakota State? Yes,
Yep.
exactly. North Dakota State. Like, the only question about him is that, like, every once in a while, with those smaller school draft picks that are picked high up, they can't translate to the league well because of the talent, the weird talent distribution or whatever. But I think he's going to come in and be a dog. I think he's a day one starter, and he's going to have like that long 13, 14-year career all with the Seahawks, something like that. I do love this pick.
It's kind of funny because John Schneider's been very hesitant to take offensive linemen in the past, but this feels like such a quintessentially John Schneider kind of guy.
Yeah.
Big, hunky, home-feeling guy up front doing the business. And I was talking about my brother with this, and this guy is movable around the offensive line.
That's what they talked about.
Yeah, I heard that, that he can play center, he can play tackle, he can play guard, he can play all over the place. And we're feeling good with Charles Cross kind of at our blindside spot right now. So I see him starting on the inside initially because that's kind of where we've needed the most depth. But he's strong, he's fast, he's tall. He had a 9'3" broad jump, which is ridiculous for an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling really good about this pick. I think there was some other offensive linemen that definitely could have been valid, maybe even more valid picks at the spot we were at. But you can never go wrong with a trusty inside lineman at the pick that we got him at. And so I'm feeling really good. And he, despite playing at the FCS level his entire career, he started a lot of games, saw a lot of actions. 5 seasons of college football.
Yep.
I'm feeling good about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I was talking to Connor, you about this, the fact that the tone of the draft is really what pushed the Seahawks to go get O-Lineman or to go get Gray Zabel. It's because O-Lineman and D-Lineman they were going off the board pretty quick.
It wasn't
in this
skill
first round.
positions,
No.
yeah.
There was a couple QBs like Cam Ward first overall.
Or like obviously Travis Hunter's going to go.
Yeah.
But it majority went like someone like the first guy
Line of scrimmage players.
OT D tackle was Will Campbell, Mason Graham in the 4 or 5 spot.
Yeah.
And then just it kept going from there. Membo, 7th pick by the Jet. It just kept going down the line.
And if more skilled positions players would have been picked, like you got like more QBs were going, more wide receivers were going, more tight ends, more safeties, then I wouldn't be as mad if we got a wide receiver or if we went and got a safety in the first round. But I think the tone of the draft was set, right? It's just like in economics. If people start buying stock or people start dumping stock, you do the same thing, right? It's that herd mentality. Same thing for the draft. If all of your options for that position are going to start going, you're going to have to go get that player. And so I think the Seahawks did a great job knowing the tone of the draft, knowing what they needed, and going getting it in Gray Zabel.
And they didn't trade up, trade down, or anything like that. But like you said, the tone of the draft did change the first round quite a bit because it got to the point where it's like, okay, Giants have to trade up. Boom, Texans, all their guys went. They went back traded the first round pick to the second round. Same thing with the Rams. The Falcons traded up thinking they might not, like edges are going, defense is going. Okay, James Pierce Jr. might go, so they had to go trade up and get him. They didn't know and then the Giants, their part, traded ahead of the Rams because they might get Jackson Dart. There was a lot of questions because you didn't know how the draft was going to go after those first probably 7 picks. And so that was a great point by the Seahawks, just doing a good job of playing the field.
Absolutely.
This was just an ultimate well-read draft.
Yeah.
Just reading where we're going to be at. I don't know if we want to get a little bit deeper into the picks that we've got, but not counting our very interesting 3rd round pick. Like our 2nd and 3rd picks, like we got, I wasn't expecting us to go safety, but like we got a guy who was projected 1st round in the middle of the 2nd round or early 2nd round.
Our best pick in the draft.
Yeah,
no
he
doubt.
could totally be.
Emanwari, he's a freak of nature. He's straight like a football player. Yeah, like pure athlete, pure prodigy. Dude's a dog.
Yep.
Trading up to get because I don't think the Seahawks thought he was going to last that long. So the fact they traded up and got the 3rd pick in the 2nd round
Smart.
to go get him.
He was projected the 25th pick in the draft. We got him at 35. Like that's great. And then the same thing with, I haven't looked too much into Elijah Arroyo out of Miami, but getting some Latin representation on the team, and just I mean he's 6'3", he's fast. I've been totally fine with not investing too much at the tight end position because we're not a team that really needs to go to the tight end too much.
No.
But now that we've done it, I'm feeling good, man. I like investing at the tight end position.
Yeah.
This could potentially give a really dynamic threat for our next quarterback.
I think it came down to a lot of when you're looking at prospects and you're like, oh, this guy's better than this guy, why would they go?
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff is going to be because of just scheme fit. You know, this guy's interview is better than this guy, and we just don't know the behind the scenes and everything like that. So the Elijah pick, I personally feel that at the time, there's probably maybe 3 to 4 more better tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I'm not the GM of the Seahawks, and I haven't done the research of this tight end fits better with the Seahawks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you just wait and see. These draft guys, you just never know. The guy I thought was the best tight end in the draft could be total bust.
Absolutely.
So you never know.
Yeah. And you hinted at it, and let's talk about him. Jalen Milroe, the Seahawks drafted him with our 3rd pick.
Yeah.
Look, we got Sam Darnold, but now you got Jalen Milroe. I'd say they're complete polar opposites of each other in terms of what their skill set is. You know what I mean? Milroe can move. He's a mobile quarterback. Sam Darnold can't. He's not that mobile of a quarterback. So I think that it's a great pick for us. I mean, we're a team, like we've mentioned before, the O-line's been a problem. So if you want a QB who can possibly perform with a not-so-great O-line and maybe even perform even better with a solid O-line now with Gray Zabel, this is a great pick for us. And I think he'll be a great backup for us. Or I'd say if Sam Darnold starts to stumble out of the gate, I'd say Jalen Milroe, I don't know if he'll be like 100% ready,
yeah.
but I think he's a decent guy to lean on in case we need to sub out Sam Darnold, bring in our backup.
Well, him as a quarterback prospect, he's the definition of a prodigy.
Oh, yeah.
Because he has the talent and capabilities, if he learns and gets better, to be an MVP candidate. Because that's just the prospect he is. But he also has, the potential to be like an Anthony Richardson, like a worse Anthony Richardson, where it's just you're one of the most athletic guys on the field, but you can't throw the football for the life of you, dude.
Yeah.
And that's just the questions with Jalen Milroe. What would the pick and him being a backup, like we just traded Sam Howell, which hallelujah,
Yeah.
that dude was some hot ass. I can say that now because oh my goodness, that primetime game, every Seahawks fan was embarrassed.
Yeah.
But like he's gonna be quarterback 2 now, so just sit back, learn, and if Sam Darnold does struggle, then he has the chance. But if Sam Darnold doesn't struggle, and then it's like, okay, Jalen Milroe, just keep learning. I don't think there's going to be a lose-lose in this situation, in my opinion. I think it's a really good pick.
Yeah, my initial reaction, and this might be a little over-dramatic, but my initial reaction was Jalen Hurts situation, right? You've got a guy from Bama who's got running ability, who's going to sit behind somebody for a year, right? That, I see a lot of similarity in their game, and I think there's a path for that. Am I saying that Jalen Milroe is going to be like Jalen Hurts? No. But I'm feeling very confident about this pick. I think there's so much upside, like you were talking about, an athlete with running mobility, solid passing game so far. It's really interesting that we took him above Shedeur Sanders when he was available. But
we'll talk about him.
We'll talk about this. This is a big talking point. But I think my main reason I defend this pick is because if everybody else was already passing on Shedeur Sanders, there was something going around on the rest of the league saying, don't draft Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
And so if everybody else was saying that, you play it safe and you pick the guy that you think is fun. And I don't think Jalen Milroe is still a safe pick. I think he's a fun pick. I think he's an interesting pick. Oh, yeah. There's definitely risk involved. But at that point in the 3rd round, when you've already taken care of a few of your major needs, going after a guy like Milroe, I think is great.
Yeah. No, I think it's a perfect pick for the Seahawks. Honestly, I'm really happy with these first couple picks that the Seahawks made. I think we filled a lot of our needs. We read the tone of the draft. We got the picks that we needed. So I mean, there's still more picks to be made from the Seahawks, but I'd say looking at these first couple ones, I'm giving this an A in terms of the draft. I'm rating this an A.
Well, so far as the 4th round is going, as we're speaking, with the 4th pick in the 4th round, we got Riley Mills, DT from Notre Dame.
Yep.
And then we just picked not too long ago, about 6 picks ago, in the 30th pick in the 4th round, Torrey Horton, receiver from Colorado State, which was a pretty good pick. Like, at this point, these are the guys that you have to prove it yourself if you want to, because it gets to the point where these guys are fighting to make a roster spot. So these are the guys that you want to fight and see them make the team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my initial look at Torrey, I'm feeling great. This guy, like, to put it in perspective, Kyle Williams was taken as the 8th wide receiver in like early 3rd round. we are 2 full rounds later. Only 5 more receivers have gone off the board. I think we got a steal at this pick. He came out of CSU, great route runner. I think I want to say he did play pretty well in that game against Colorado. So I'm feeling good about where we're at right now.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of great stuff coming out of the Seahawks draft. So we'll move in and talk more broadly about the draft. And the first thing we want to talk about is we have a question submitted from one of our listeners, Gage, who we both know, one of the editors at the Daily Evergreen, submitted this question. I think it's a pretty interesting question to talk about. And his question is Ashton Jeanty the next Marshawn? Or how do you see the Raiders season going with Pete Carroll, Geno, and now Ashton Jeanty? And look, do I think that Ashton Jeanty is the next Marshawn? Not exactly. I think they're 2 different kinds of running backs.
Yeah.
I would say Marshawn he's a power back. He's just the kind of guy who just runs through your face, right? He would just line up and he would say I'm gonna run through you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Mm-hmm. Ashton Jeanty, I think he's a bit more of an elusive back. He's a smaller guy. He breaks tackles, or he doesn't even get hit. He just finds ways to get out of it. So I think they're 2 different kinds of running backs. But do I think that Ashton Jeanty could play up to the level that Marshawn played? I definitely think so. I think that he's a talent. I mean, people are wondering if he'll be able to translate well to the NFL. I think he will. I think he could be one of the top running backs up there with Marshawn.
I think his ceiling is higher than Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. Marshawn had a great career, but like you said, there has been more dynamic runners in the history of this game, and I think Ashton Jeanty can be one of them.
Yeah.
The most comparable pick for Jeanty as a really high running back pick is Saquon. Mm-hmm. And I think Saquon is still a generational talent. He dealt with issues early on, and I think that could definitely be an issue with Jeanty, especially if he's getting 300 touches a season early in his career. But with a Pete Carroll offense, if they can keep building up that offensive line, I don't see why he couldn't surpass it. I think he is every bit worth the 6th pick in the NFL draft. Mm-hmm. And I did believe he was probably the 4th or 5th best prospect in this entire draft.
Like you said, I think you guys aimed it perfectly. He's not Marshawn, he's Ashton Jeanty.
Yes.
This dude had the 2nd greatest running back season in college history. So for this guy to be I think he could be a top 10 running back by the end of his rookie year. Mm-hmm. He has so much potential. It's just a matter of what the Raiders will do with him. And then how they build, I want to say how they build around him. Because Geno's got maybe 2-3 years left max. Mm-hmm. Ashton Jeanty's going to be the face of that team probably for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Who's going to be the next quarterback? Who's going to be the O-line protecting you? Because you can see what you can do with elusive, running backs can win you games like we just saw with Saquon. He had one of the greatest seasons of all time. And I'm not saying Ashton Jeanty will or won't. But if you build around your running back in the correct way and have that good O-line, have that good quarterback dynamic, and just an offensive playbook that can help him, he can do a lot. I promise you can help you. And Ashton Jeanty will do a lot of amazing things in the league.
And I mean, hey, do I think that the Raiders are all of a sudden going to be a playoff caliber team?
No.
But I do think that they have made some really, really good gets in the offseason. Yep. Pete Carroll, great gets. Mm-hmm. Geno Smith, pretty good. I mean, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not a really quality top tier quarterback. But he's good. He was good for us, and I think he's still. I don't think he's gonna get any better, but he's at least gonna be as good as he was with us. And then I think that's gonna be. So that was a great get for them.
Well, in their 2nd round, they got I think it's Jack or Jake Beck, the TCU guy. Where he's a really good. He was obviously a really good receiver too, but now he's playing for something more. As his brother passed away in the terrorist shooting in New Orleans for that game and stuff like that, so he's playing for more. His career's more than him at this point. Which is, I think, a really good point because the Raiders have been known to be taking criminals the last, 20 years. Now they kind of flipped to the other side where it's they're taking the hero where this guy's playing for something more than him. Yeah. Which is, I think, a great, great pick because if you have those guys, it's they almost get even better. Because he even said in his postgame, he's you're not just getting me, Jack Beck or Jake Beck. You're getting, I believe his name's Tyler Beck. You're getting both of us. Mm-hmm. So, and that, I think, is also a remarkable story. But also, just again, the Raiders are doing amazing things in year 1 of the Pete Carroll era.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about culture shift. I think that's going to be the biggest thing with this team. This team has been stuck in purgatory for so long. It sucks when you've been in a division that's included the Peyton Manning Broncos and then the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs. And then even the Phillip Rivers Chargers. You can't do a lot about that. Even Drew Brees' Chargers. That's tough to beat. But with Pete Carroll being one of the most player-friendly coaches in the league, and then getting a guy like Genty, and then getting Beck, and having Brock Bowers, I haven't paid attention too much to the rest of their draft class so far, but when you still have Max Crosby on the defensive end, and then you now have a very solid foundation of weapons on the offensive end. I'm feeling good about this team being much closer to a respectable team than being absolute garbage, right?
Well, I think they're in the position where it's like we said, they're not going to be a playoff team.
Nope.
I think they could get 6-7 wins though, which is more than doable, and then they still have around a 9 to 13 spot in the draft where you get another superstar player, and potentially we'll see how they are next year too. But I think they're in a good spot to just keep going up. They're rebuilding very well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Thank you so much, Gage, for submitting that question. Look, if you're listening, if you want to have a question heard, you want to have your voice, comments, anything heard on air, submit them in the comments on our post on Instagram. We'll probably talk about them. Probably won't be able to talk about them until next year because, again, this is our season finale. But looking more to the broader aspects of the whole draft, what was some of your guys' most shocking picks, or what was the biggest surprises you saw in this year's draft?
I think we'll save Shadur for the last kind of thing.
Yeah, totally.
The most shocking thing, I thought, with the Bears, we just talked about Seahawks and this guy fits better with this team and so on and so on. I think it was shocking for maybe a good 10 seconds. Colson Loveland over Tyler Warren. But I think we knew coming in that the Bears, it was either going to be Ashton Genty or one of the tight ends. And since Ashton Genty went, Colson Loveland, I think Tyler Warren is the better tight end. But again, fits perfectly. Colson Loveland probably fits perfectly into the Bears system. And I think the Bears right now are probably having one of the best drafts, as they also got Luther Burden in the second round, which was a great pick. But overall, the Bears are surprising me with what the direction they're going, because they just had a whole new rebrand, new OC, DC head coach, obviously the technically new quarterback Caleb Williams in the second year. I think the Bears are looking really good. And personally, my whole lifetime, the Bears haven't done jack.
Yeah.
So the fact that the Bears are doing good is surprising, in my opinion.
One of my more surprising ones, aside from the quarterbacks, is Michael Pierce to the Falcons.
No, James Pierce.
James Pierce, not Michael Pierce. James Pierce.
Tennessee, yeah, I know.
The biggest surprise was they traded up and they gave up a future first rounder to get this guy when you could have just waited. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You gave up way too much. And this is a team that has the Michael Penix is your quarterback of the future right now, but you need those picks in the future. This team, I guarantee you, this team is not going to compete right away this year or even in the next year. This is a team that needs to slowly build itself up around Penix, and I don't think giving up a future first was worth it.
No.
I think this was one of the dumbest trades in the draft. I don't like it at all. And Pierce is cool, but was he worth trading up? I think I saw something on ESPN. It's when they calculated all the value of the draft picks he gave up, it was equivalent to giving up a top 10 pick to move up for him. And I'm this is ridiculous. So that's my surprising move of the draft.
I also agree.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and we said we were going to save it for last, and I think the most surprising thing for me was the fact that Shadur Sanders fell, to the third, fourth round? Fifth round, yeah. Dude, I mean, we were doing a little mock draft in KUGR the day of the first round.
We had him going, 9 to the Saints?
Yeah.
Something
we waited. We didn't draft him first, second, third, fourth. No, we waited a little bit, and we were joking.
That was good.
Yeah, we thought that was right where it should be, but I feel every single day I was waking up thinking oh, someone's going to draft Shadur Sanders. Oh, well, maybe tomorrow. Oh, well, maybe tomorrow. And he tweeted, he said I'm ready for whatever today brings me, and people are responding what about tomorrow?
Well, people clown him and stuff. If you would have asked me probably 48 hours ago or 50 hours ago, whatever, before the first round started, and it was all the things and he would have said, okay, Shadur didn't make it in the first round, I would have been, okay, that's fair. Hey, he's not going to be as cocky anymore. This is probably going to level head him a little bit. Because it went from he has a 97% chance to not get past 21 with the Steelers to it was okay, he's out of the first. I understand that. And then it got to the second, and I was okay, what is happening? Second, third. And then it got to the point where it's Tyler Show, Louisville. Dude's 26 years old. He was the backup for Justin Herbert 5 years ago at Oregon. I think he's not even that good at football. Then I was oh my gosh, what are the Saints are doing? Okay, I guess next quarterback's going to be Shadur. No, then it goes to be about 3 rounds later, then it goes Jalen Milroe. Okay, Jalen Milroe fits better with the Seahawks anyways. What am I thinking? Then it goes Cleveland. They're taking a quarterback. Oh, okay, has to be Shadur Sanders.
Yeah.
No, Dylan Gabriel. It gets the Shedeur Sanders, in my opinion, is the second best quarterback in the draft. I understand. Cam Ward's number one. I think undoubtedly.
Yeah,
no one will
100%.
disagree. Then we can have the argument about Jackson Dart. Whatever. Giants think he's better. Got you. I want to know what he did in the interview. He had to be playing rap music, rapping his song, instead of just answering the questions because it kind of pisses me off because I'm not a Shedeur Sanders lover. Thought he should have been that guy. But the fact that he's falling this much is so disrespectful.
Yeah.
And then you had the Ole Miss kids prank call him.
Yeah.
Which is
Brutal.
so disrespectful in my opinion because I don't care if you don't like him, if you hate him.
Yeah.
He's trying to live his dream. He's trying to get his dream phone call that he's worked his whole life for, where everyone thinks he has Netbo. But you got to understand that you still have to have talent to make the NFL. Like, Deion Sanders is probably the hardest dude on this guy. Everyone probably gives him all the crap or whatever because his dad's Deion Sanders. He's got him to so many places.
Yeah.
No, he's got to the NFL himself because he's been dominating. But the fact he made it to the 5th round, and then it was the Browns who already took a rookie quarterback the round before. So, in my opinion, wasted a pick on Dylan Gabriel.
100%.
Because I think they know. I think he's a better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel. Deshaun Watson's not going to play next year. The only quarterback I think he's really competing with is going to be Joe Flacco, who's 37 years old.
Yeah.
So the fact that Shedeur Sanders fell all the way down there, and he's probably going to start, I find it so disrespectful. But if anything, this gives him a chip on the shoulder. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm just utterly confused.
Yeah.
Right? Sanders was projected to be, by most accounts, be a top 10 pick. I would have had him as my QB2 as well. I think everybody passing on him sent a reality, like the NFL passing on him as a whole, sent a reality check to fans saying something went wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody evaluated him wrong.
Yeah.
All 32 NFL teams had a completely different evaluation than the consensus of literally everyone else on the planet. I don't know. I've been shocked. I don't know what's going on. And from like I said earlier, from the perspective like the Seahawks and some of these other teams that are taking some of these quarterbacks like late second, early third round, it's like if Sanders has been passed on to this point, I kind of get passing on him and feeling more comfortable with your pick because everybody else passing on him is telling you something. And I think the Browns were like, at this point in the draft, somehow it is more likely that Dylan Gabriel will be picked up by a team who just falls in love with him than Shedeur Sanders. So we can wait on him, which is also crazy. And now this Cleveland quarterback room is ridiculous. It's Kenny Pickett, it's Deshaun Watson, it's Joe Flacco, it's Dylan Gabriel, and it's Shedeur Sanders.
Well, here's the thing, 5 quarterbacks, someone's going to get cut.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to be Deshaun Watson. He's getting paid $40 million, and he's on IR because he's not. There's a good chance he probably doesn't play next year. It's not going to be your 2 rookie quarterbacks in my opinion because you either just wasted a 4th round pick or a 5th round pick. You at least have to wait a year. It potentially might be Joe Flacco, who's 37, but he might be the best quarterback in that room.
Like right now.
And yeah, exactly. So I also think Kenny Pickett, it has to be the only cuttable option because I don't think he's a good quarterback. He's not the young guy. He doesn't give you the potential. Like, what is Kenny Pickett going to do that others can't or can't do better? So I think Kenny Pickett's gone, but that still leaves you with 4. And it's just an awkward kind of situation that the Shedeur Sanders is kind of into. And he's lost millions. We don't understand. Like, this dude has lost millions of dollars because he goes from a first-round pick to getting paid about $10 million a year on his rookie contract to he's getting paid less than $2 million a year. Yeah. With being a 5th-round pick. He got more at NIL in college than he's getting right now. But I just find it super disrespectful. I'm not even a huge Shedeur Sanders lover or whatever, but I really hope he succeeds now.
You know, I think about it. I think that this is kind of what Shedeur Sanders needs when you really get down to it. I think this is. I was listening to Seattle Sports 710, Brock and Salk. They were talking about this, and Mike Salk mentioned this, and I 100% agree with them. This is, I think, one of the first times that Shedeur Sanders is being humanized, and we're realizing that this guy, who's the son of Deion Sanders, plays for his dad's program, all that stuff. He's being reminded of the fact that you are human. And that you are not as good as you maybe think you are, something like that. I mean, whether that's true or not, I think he's definitely a talent, and he's an athlete. He's the son of Deion Sanders. He's the son of primetime, baby. So, I mean, but I think it's good for him because he's gonna hit the league. His ego's going to be humbled a little bit, but I think it's also going to remind him that he's going to be angry. You're going to unleash this guy who thought he was going to be a first round pick. He gets drafted in the 5th round. He's going to be mad. He's going to come out. I think he's going to start performing. Because I think that he has the talent to do it, and now he's got the motivation and he's got the realization that, hey, I really got to work for this. All that combined, you're going to make a dangerous player in the NFL.
Hey, well, no doubt. And Shadur Sanders made 3 fans today, in my opinion, and we're rooting for you, dude.
Absolutely.
A 5th-round pick, man. Shoot, man. Yeah, that was probably might be the biggest draft slide in history, especially with the hype, because I've never seen more Instagram posts for a 5th-round pick ever. On Instagram and everything like that, but it's for a good reason. I think Shadur does have the talent to succeed in the league.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, that's going to cover it for our NFL draft coverage. We're going to take a break real quick, but then we are going to come right back with some important Kraken news. There's been one major really point of news that we're going to talk about, but after that, we're going to go to break real quick. We'll be right back. Please don't tune away. Again, you are listening to Slice of Seattle on KUGR. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are still listening to Slice of Seattle on KUGR, Cougar College Radio. It's time for our final segment of the day. We're talking hockey. Specifically, we're talking Kraken hockey. And the big news coming out of the Kraken offseason, it's kicking off with a bang. Dan Bylsma is gone. He will not be the head coach for the Kraken anymore. He had 1 season of work, and that's basically it. Look, hockey, notorious for keeping coaches on short leashes. I mean, you get like a couple games in the season, you guys aren't performing, you're gone. I mean, hey, you know that very well. Jay Woodcroft got fired after that season, and you guys end up going to the playoffs. Almost won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Well, it's because with Jay Woodcraft or whatever, you go from 3-4 years in a row playoffs, almost making it, go Western Conference Finals, stuff like that, and then you're hit in December and you're the worst team in the league. That just can't happen. Which it makes sense. But with the Dan Bylsma situation, I do want to say expectations weren't too high. Don't get me wrong, maybe our expectations were higher than it should have been, so that kind of set him up for failure. I think it was still a disappointing season because it wasn't a good season by any means necessary. But we're going to be on our 3rd head coach in 5 years. That's just not a good sign, and especially for a new franchise. It's one thing if it's like the Sabres or something like that, where they've been in for like 40-plus years, but for a new franchise, that's just not a good look. And I just don't. Why'd you keep him for 1 year?
Yeah.
Because he does. It's not like he has the team that can just go out there and straight dominate.
No.
Let him at least build something. Because towards the end of the year, we did do good things. So I don't truly agree with it, but I do also understand as we're gonna have probably a top 5 pick this year. Get a new head coach. Get a new young guy who's potentially a superstar, Roger McQueen, hopefully.
Yeah.
But just have him build up from there. I think that's what they're hoping to do. But whoever the new head coach is, keep him longer than a year. Come on, Kraken.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, it's tough. Like this, I mean, we talk about this with rookies in any league. It's like you want to be able to grow with your guy, right? And sometimes it is okay. Sometimes if it's absolutely atrocious, you've got to let go of a guy early. But for a team that's been consistently young over its first several years in existence, you can't be letting these young guys down by rolling through coaches on and on and on. And, maybe this decision is defensible just because of how poor this past season was. And like you said, it's kind of the standard to let guys go early. And I think there's a good set of options available that could definitely turn this franchise around. But I still would have erred on the side of trying to give another year because at this point we kind of know where our talent is. It's not amazing. It's there, but it's not amazing. And just focus on continuing to build that culture and developing the players. Like I feel like that's the most important thing.
And do I think that the failure for the Kraken this season was Dan Bylsma's fault? Absolutely not.
No.
I don't think it was his fault whatsoever because when you look at the start of that year, it was great. We had a pretty great start to that year. And you want to know when we started to fall off and started to have problems? When Jordan Eberle had a groin injury, when Vince Dunn was on the IL. I mean, you also look at the fact that Matty Beniers only tallied 20 goals. I mean, a 20-goal season is pretty good, but out of a rookie talent who he won Rookie of the Year, I expect more than just 20 goals. Like, 20 goals is good for, like, an average NHL player. He's not an average NHL player. Yeah. Shane Wright got off to an incredibly slow start. He was a healthy scratch at one point. So, all these things I wouldn't say are necessarily Dan Bylsma's fault. Granted, you are the guy at the helm, and you got to be able to take hold, and a good coach would be able to steer you, even with all those injuries, all those problems, to a winning season. But at the end of the day, do I think it was his fault? Absolutely not. I think, and I don't love how tight of a leash hockey keeps their coaches because I think that like you mentioned, like you got to let him at least get a year under his belt. Get his bearings. He has coached in the NHL before, but he hasn't coached with the Kraken before. So give him some time maybe to work it out. And you mentioned draft picks. So we have 7 first-round picks in the next 5 years. And currently at the moment, the most mock drafts don't have us taking Roger McQuaid in 2025. But trading
he's
up,
right there.
Yeah.
He's around the pick.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
And as we keep trading, keep making changes, we could end up getting Roger McQuaid. Like
Every sport. A lot of mock drafts are more, I want to say, correct. But like a lot of mock drafts are wrong. Obviously, there hasn't been a perfect mock draft ever. Mm-hmm. But majority of them are more correct on certain picks, at least after free agency. Yeah. Because you know what at least the team needs position wise. Yeah. So we'll see from there. Obviously, Roger McQueen's been my guy, and I think he just screams superstar as a 6'5" goal scorer, which is something just we need. Yeah. So why not? But then again. Dan's about he wasn't the problem.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault necessarily.
I wonder a little bit if kind of the thought process here of getting rid of him right now is like we are gonna have those 7 first round picks in the next 5 years. Yeah, yeah, we're having that many picks that now is where we hit on the coach, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you grow with those 7 first round picks over the next 5 years. You're banking on getting a guy that is going to be the coach over those next 5 years. And I think there's some validity to that, but I still think like given the amount of young guys the Kraken have and then the amount of potential talent we're going to be bringing in the next few years, give them the chance to build up with that group. But that's just how the Kraken are rolling.
Yeah, pretty much. So yes, with Dan Bylsma being fired, it's going to be the 3rd head coach we're going to be bringing in 5 years. Also on that note, Jessica Campbell, who was brought in this year, first ever female coach in NHL history. So, I mean, hats off to her. But there is no word as to whether or not she's going to keep that position. From what it sounds like, she probably will. I doubt they're going to fire her after the first year.
Just depends on the new head coach, probably.
100% depends on who we bring in. Speaking of which, let's look at some of the prospects we got lined up for the Kraken. If you follow Kraken Season on Instagram, if you don't, go follow them. They have a lot of great Kraken content. But the other day, they did send out their basically top 8 possible replacements for Dan Bylsma. And we're going to share them today and basically, talk about who we think might be the replacement. Number 1, they got Dave Carl out of the University of Denver. Number 2, they got Pat Ferschweiler from Western Michigan, who they won the Frozen Four, which is like the college hockey playoffs, essentially. They got Marco Sturm from the Ontario Reign, who's a minor league team. They play in the same league as the Coachella Firebirds, which is our affiliate team. You recognize his name, Jay Woodcroft from the Oilers. Might be bringing him on. Todd Nelson from the Hershey Bears, another minor league team. Jay Pandolfo from Boston University. Joe Sacco from the Bruins. And then Bruce Boudreau from the Canucks. So that's Kraken Season's basically top 8 possible head coaching fixes. The other one that they didn't put in that list that I think could also be one is Rick Tocchet. He was supposed to be our inaugural head coach. We ended up, things kind of went south. We ended up going with Dave Haxtell instead. But there is some talk that maybe Rick Tocchet might now be our 3rd head coach in 5 years. But those 9 names, those are possible ones. Personally, if you're asking me, the 3 that I would probably want to go with is probably going to be either Joe Sacco from the Bruins, Pat Ferschweiler from Western Michigan, and then David Carl from the University of Denver. I think that those are guys, I don't want to go Jay Woodcroft, not because I hate the Oilers, but because I just
He's been in the league for like 3-4 years.
Yeah, and so I think, out of those ones, I think those are the guys I want to go with, but those are some possible head coaching fixes.
Oh, no, I 100% agree. Well, they're all good prospects for a reason. It's just a matter, these guys are older coaches too, so a lot of them probably have older techniques. So I would personally go with like the AHL coaches, or something like that, or some of the younger coaches, something from college. But that's just my opinion. But then again, it's just a matter of who they look at.
Yeah, I feel most confident about going Denver or Western Michigan. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I think switching up your strategy a little bit, delving into the college ranks, especially for 2 programs that just saw themselves go extremely far in the Frozen Four, or be very successful in that. 2 of the best hockey programs in the history of college hockey.
Yeah.
I feel much better about those guys leading the future of the Kraken than some of the other guys on the list. I do agree that some of the guys who have some previous NHL experience could be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I had to pick the 2 guys I'm going after, it's definitely those college guys.
And I'm pretty sure with Western Michigan with Pat Ferschweiler, that was a team, Western Michigan, I don't think they were really supposed to be in the Frozen Four. Like, they were a team that kind of broke in and did really, really well.
They're just like my comparison with there's Texas in football, like college football. Texas, who's like a 1 seed, 4 seed, always a top team. Western Michigan's like a Texas Tech that made it instead of Texas. That's what like my best comparison is for that. So people at home can understand that a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because they probably just don't understand.
Absolutely. And hey, look, if Dan Bilesma's firing is any indicator, I think we're going to get off to a pretty hot offseason for the Kraken. We're probably going to be making a lot of moves. So I think let's talk about some of the things that the Kraken should probably be doing in this offseason if they're going to want to build back better. Because, look, great moves last year bringing on Brandon Montour, Chandler Stevenson. Both those guys are looking like they're going to pan out pretty nicely. Brandon Montour, phenomenal year. Chandler Stevenson, also slightly worse, but still a phenomenal year out of both those guys. But I'd say they're about, in terms of, I think the Kraken need to trim some fat from the payroll. And I think the 3 names that they could probably cut and they're going to be free agents coming into the offseason. And so I think they're guys who aren't producing much and we should probably get rid of. Cale Fleury, Josh Mahura, and John Hayden. Now, all 3 of those guys are really young, and their contracts aren't worth that much. But if you cut through those 3 guys who aren't producing very much, they weren't helping the team out very much. You cut them, they free up some spending. You go into the free agent market, and you could possibly pick up some talent. So I think that's number 1 we should do, to just trim some fat out of the budget right now.
Oh, no doubt about it. I doubt he probably makes it to the actual free agent market, but I think Mitch Marner is perfect because he's still young and he's a superstar. But then again, it's like we just talked about when we were talking about the draft, is free agency, get some more fat on some positions, stuff like that, and then boom, get whoever you have in mind, get your superstar in that draft or whatever. Because if you can't get the superstar in free agency, just get those solid role players that can get you 20 to 25 points a year, fill that third, fourth line, make just everything super strong. Because if you can have a solid team, look at the Kings, for example. They don't, like Quentin Byfield, they don't have a guy that's over, I think, 80 points this whole season. But number 1 defense, help your goalie out. Joey Decord's probably better than half of the goalies in the playoffs right now. It's just a matter, get a defense in front of him and get some guys that can score points in front of him.
Yeah, this team doesn't feel like a team that's going to spend a lot of money in free agency, just with the way our market is and the way Seattle franchises are usually run. But when we have money available and the opportunity to go out and get some guys, I totally agree. I think cutting those 3 is the right move. And then you fill in with just some more depth that's a little bit stronger. I want some guys who are high upside, who can kind of roll in with this, whoever the new coach is going to be, roll in with the new coach and kind of build up something that we weren't expecting to see. I think we can bring the best out of the guys if we just pair them with the right coach. So I think looking for those connections is going to be key, and then filling in the gaps with the draft.
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned Mitch Marner, free agency, right? Look, that's the other thing is going in free agency, be really aggressive. We free up some spending, go in and find somebody. I'm not gonna say that the free agent market this year for the NHL is gonna be packed with talent.
Yeah.
But I think the MLB this year, the free agent market for the MLB in this recent offseason, packed with talent. Pete Alonso, Juan Soto, Alex Bregman, Vlad. You had all these superstars, and so I think this offseason was where we saw a lot of guys move around, like Alex Bregman to the Red Sox. That was a big move. I don't think the NHL this year has that same kind of packed free agent market, but there are still some really big names, and so I think some of the key ones we should mention. You touched on him. Mitch Marner from the Toronto Maple Leafs, John Tavares also from the Leafs, Nikolaj Ehlers, who is, I can't remember who he's playing for right now. Brad Marchand on the Panthers, who he got traded. Dude, that broke my heart to see him go from the Bruins to go to the Panthers. That just is heartbreaking. Claude Giroux on the Flames, Brock Boeser from the Canucks, Ivan Provorov from the Columbus Blue Jackets, and then Kyle Palmieri from the New York Islanders. Now, I should put some caveats and say Marner, Tavares, Ehlers, Marchand, Giroux, playoff teams, right?
Good chance they don't even hit the market.
Yeah, I was gonna say they might just re-sign. Those are teams that could probably offer them a lot of money. I doubt they're gonna be really swayed. I mean, but at the end of the day, that's the thing. We say that, but we don't know. But maybe Mitch Marner doesn't really like playing for
It's
Toronto.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe Claude Giroux is really dissatisfied with the Flames.
Brad Marchand doesn't like Florida.
I mean, dude, after you got traded to them by the Bruins with only 1 year left on your contract, and so now you're going. I could see where maybe he gets a little. Oh, granted though, if Brad Marchand on the Panthers ends up going and wins a cup with them,
dude, I'd retire.
Oh man, no. But those guys probably not going to get those guys in free agency. But Brock Boeser, even Provorov, Kyle Palmieri, those 3 guys, those are non-playoff teams. They're the Canucks.
Brock. I think he would fit well. I personally think if you're the Kraken, if you're gonna spend money on a bigger free agent, you got to go a super old guy like a Brad Marchand and John Travers for like a 1-2 year deal, so he helps the rookie out.
Yep.
Or you go young, so you keep with the thing, but you have your star like Mitch Marner. That's just what you can't go in the middle with like a 29-year-old.
The ideal scenario would be to get one of the guys that's coming from a playoff team because you get that playoff experience. But I think it's more realistic to say you can drop a little bit less of a bag on some of these guys that are on non-playoff teams who will be just looking for an opportunity to get some extra reps, get some extra playing time. And I think I like where you're headed with this, with the idea of getting an older guy who can help a veteran who can provide some stability for a team that's really young.
Yeah.
I think that's super important, and I think that could really make the difference in just especially a transition year when a lot of these guys are like running through so many head coaches. It's like you need some stability somewhere, and signing a guy who has some experience would be the most helpful.
No, absolutely. And then the other thing we should touch on too, what the Kraken should do is we mentioned it before, 7 first-round picks in the next 5 drafts. And a part of that is because we made a bunch of trades kind of at the deadline this year. We gave up Yanni Gord, Oliver Bjorkstrand, Daniel Sprong. We gave up Brandon Tanev, and we accrued a lot of draft picks. Not necessarily also in the first round. I think a couple of second-round, third-round picks as well. But we kind of have a stockpile of draft picks. And I think what the Kraken should 100% do is package those draft picks with maybe some guys like Andre Burakovsky, for example, who had an awful year. He was supposed to have a better year, and he just did not. He produced basically nothing for the Kraken this year. Yeah. So I say you take guys like on your team who aren't producing, like Andre Burakovsky, package them with all these draft picks you got, and I think you go talent some teams that need young talent, and you package that draft pick with maybe some of your lower guys, and maybe pick off some of their talent, especially teams that might be rebuilding. And again, it's that thing that they need that young talent. You use your resources to go get some guys. Because, I mean, look, I think the Kraken are pretty similar right now to the Mariners in terms of the young talent that we have. Like, the Mariners have always had the best farm system in all of baseball. I think the Kraken are kind of similar. We got a lot of young talent. Do I think we need those 7 first-round picks in the next 5 years? I don't think we need all of them. I think you could definitely package those together and go get some guys who are already established and start winning right now. I think that's what we should do.
I think that's honestly really smart, too. If you can find a deal, like right now, let's just go Vancouver. Elias Pettersson had a pretty tragic year from what he's used to, but they also had a pretty bad year, especially after going to the playoffs last year and taking the Western Conference champions Oilers to 7 in a very close series. But if you can do a player and then do 2 first-round picks for Elias Pettersson, who is already on a bad, he's getting paid, so you have his contract already. But Canucks are probably looking to go rebuild. They already traded their second-hand superstar. They are not making the playoffs anytime soon. Get out of his contract and rebuild. Yeah. And bring that superstar to the Kraken. And then if you can do it without trading your top 10 pick this year, I think you're lined up perfectly. I think that is boom. You're done. Do next year's first-round pick and then the 2026 first-round pick. Yeah. Man. I think that's what you do. That's just my mock trade right now. Yeah. I would do.
Yeah, sometimes I've always been a fan of being a guy who stockpiles picks and stay young and keep your team fresh. Exactly, but I think there's definitely an argument for the other way around, especially when this franchise it's had one playoff season, and I think there's this hunger and this ambition, this drive to make it straight back to the playoffs and just feel good about yourselves. And sometimes just making the playoffs, sometimes that's what you need to do. And I think there's the base level talent on this team between Montour, Wright, and some of these other guys that there's a chance that this team, with its current talent level, you just add one more big piece that it can go somewhere. And even if it's just sneaking into the playoffs. And so I think there's value in that. So I would try and unless there's an insane superstar on the table, I'm avoiding trading multiple firsts at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have to get those 7 firsts in 5 years to 5 firsts in 5 years, but those 2 firsts that you give up bring you in somebody that's going to elevate your team to a wild card level team or just sneaking into the playoffs, that's worth it in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. So yeah, no, there are a lot of moves that Kraken should be making this offseason if they want to make playoffs. I think next year, if they make some of these moves and you have a healthy Jordan Eberle, you have a healthy Vince Dunn, Matty Beniers and Shane Wright get out of their heads and actually start playing to their talent level, I think the Kraken could be a really solid team, much better than they were this year. And if they play consistent through all 82 games, they're making it to the playoffs. And speaking of which, let's talk about something that the Kraken are unfamiliar with: making playoffs. It's the NHL playoffs, first round. I love playoff hockey. Let me tell you, there's nothing better. Talk about people love watching playoffs. October baseball is super fun, super clutch, everything like that. NHL playoffs is just a whole different brand of hockey. They hit harder, shoot faster, pass better, skate faster. Everything's better, faster. I think it's some of the best sporting events you can possibly watch. I mean, it is first round, so I feel like the pressure isn't quite on. As we'll get into the more closer to the last year's final round, Oilers versus Panthers might have been some cinema, peak cinema, dude. Oh my god. And you mentioned Joey Decord being one of the better goalies. He's better than some of the goaltenders in the playoffs right now. Yeah. He's definitely better than Stuart Skinner right now.
I think he's better than even Darcy Kemper on the other side. Mm-hmm. Right now, Oilers finally won. Thank you. I am obviously, until we're out. But so I think we'll win. But I just want to do playoff hockey, but also even NBA playoffs starting. Just basketball. We don't talk about basketball a whole lot. Mm-hmm. But I do want to say is at the beginning of this NBA season, it was dropping. The fans were not watching.
Worst ratings in history, I think.
It was not entertaining whatsoever. But the playoffs have started, and it has been some of the most entertaining basketball I've watched. And now they went from haven't watched like worst viewership in NBA regular season, and then this was the most watched NBA week, playoff week 1 ever. So they changed that around, and then hockey's only growing more and more.
Yeah.
Final Four or the face-off Final Four thing. That Four Nations face-off. What am I talking about? That whole thing grew the game
100%.
Even more. So now playoff. This is probably the most popular playoffs. Anything playoffs is just awesome, but obviously playoff hockey is super underrated, and can't wait to see how everything goes. Even in the NBA, can't wait to see how everything goes.
Yeah, I need to watch more playoff hockey because some of the stuff I've been watching from it, I'm like, dang man, this is good stuff. It is fun. Yeah, playoff time I'm glad the NHL and the NBA kind of coincide at the same time.
Yeah,
it's both 16 teams, 7-game series, all the way through to the end. Mm-hmm. You get the Stanley Cup, you get the NBA Finals kind of around the same time. It is peak winter, quote unquote, winter sports at its finest, and I just think there's something magical about having to win a 7-game series and do that 4 times over. Yeah, there's just it's grit and it's determination.
Well, the best playoff hockey you can get is Washington State Cougars versus Washington Huskies. That's playoff hockey.
That was a fun game. That game we called that on KGR too. It was a close game for all the way up until the third period, and then the Huskies kind of broke it open a little bit. But I was kind of glad that we lost to the Huskies because they ended up winning the whole Pac-8 team, which is
that tells you the Cougars were a good team.
It's gonna be exciting. Any kind of hockey, playoffs wise, something on the line, man, it's exciting. If you're a basketball player, if you're a hockey player, it's exciting, and can't wait to watch some more.
No, honestly, and looking at some of the matchups for the NHL playoffs, Winnipeg Jets versus the Blues.
They just got, the thing is, Winnipeg I think will no doubt win. Yeah. But they just got ran. Mm-hmm. They just got ran out of the arena the other night. Connor Hellebuyck got pulled in the second. Mm-hmm. Completely got ran, which I was surprised at.
Yeah. Bennington Hellebuyck running it back after the Four Nations face-off. Hellebuyck's a good goalie, but to see him get pulled is not a great sign.
Oh my God!
Like you said,
but if Stuart Skinner gets pulled, you knew it was going to happen. But if Connor Hellebuyck gets pulled, oh man, something bad happened.
Stuart Skinner getting pulled is kind of a guarantee in most games. No, I agree with you. I still think the Jets are going to win that series because I think that they're the better team than the Blues. Oh, easily. And then the next matchup you got Dallas Stars versus the Avalanche. This is a bit of a close one. I had the Avalanche going, but the Dallas Stars are looking pretty gritty right now.
They're just the overall, the Stars have they've been to the playoffs more. Yep. They have the star powers. They know what they're doing. or not the Stars, the Avalanche.
Avalanche, yep.
Avalanche have
I
the
was gonna
Stars.
say,
They
yeah,
know what
yeah.
they're doing and stuff like that. The Stars have that just overall top to bottom really good team.
Yeah.
Top 5 offense, top 5 defense, top 5 goalie work. It's just incredible.
Yeah. And then the other matchup, Vegas Golden Knights versus the Minnesota Wild. I mean,
That one's up in the air right now.
Yeah, I would say the Golden Knights should go. Like, don't get me
They
wrong.
should. No, they are the better team. They
The,
should.
the
Yeah.
Wild is they're a great team, but I think they'll get outmatched by
They're
the.
unhealthy too. They're just
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And, you got Marc-Andre Fleury in his last season. He's making it to the playoffs, which is just like.
So sad.
It's
Yeah.
sad, but and the final matchup. This is the one has been having me giddy all week. The Kings versus the Oilers, and the
We're
Kings
gonna
are
win.
up, dude. Because I did not think. Because look, don't get me wrong. Again, the Kings are a pretty good team, good defensive.
They're
team.
technically the better team.
Right now, if you look at the
Overall,
Yeah.
they're the higher seed, but so technically like that. But dude, it's just the Kings are just that horrible. You know that team in the playoffs you just don't want to play.
Yeah.
They're that team.
Yep.
Because they have the best record at home.
Mhm.
They're the best defense in the league.
Yep.
And then we messed them up the first 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
So it's like they have everything against them, and the fact that we won. Thank you, man. Thank you. Oilers are gonna win the series. Until we're out, we're gonna win.
Honestly.
So I can't. Yeah.
And looking at the other side of the bracket, you got the Toronto Maple Leafs going up against the Senators. Look,
They're gonna sweep them. They're down 3-0.
Yeah.
I didn't think it'd be a sweep, but they're gonna sweep them.
Look, I just don't like the Maple Leafs. I don't know what it is. I just don't like Toronto. I hate the Blue Jays too. I don't like the Maple Leafs. I wanted the Sens to win this. I had them going. That's kind of my Cinderella story, was that the Sens were going to beat the
And they're
Maple
the only
Leafs.
team down 3-0.
Yeah, and because mainly the reason why I say that is because I want Brady to Chuck to at least go far in the playoffs.
yeah.
Because I mean, brother rivalries. It's Matthew to Chuck, Brady to Chuck.
That'd be sick.
Matthew's already got his cup, and you see those pictures of Brady to Chuck standing next to Matthew as he's holding up the Stanley Cup,
just
and
in the
he's
corner.
like, you can see he's
Yeah.
dejected. He's just like, how
And
am
he
I?
can even win the Four Nations face-off.
Yes.
That was the closest thing he had to the playoffs before this.
Yeah, and they lost that because of Connor McDavid,
Yeah.
who was open in the middle of the ice. No one was covering him. Other matchup, you got the Tampa Bay Lightning, Florida Panthers. It's also kind of up there.
It's a seesaw. Yeah.
Do I think that the Panthers are going to come out on top? Yeah. Apparently, they are just a clutch playoff team. They were able, beat the Edmonton Oilers last year.
Well, they also made it the year before where they were like a 7-8 seed.
Yeah.
Where they beat the best team of all time, technically in the Boston Bruins in the first round.
Mhm.
So they just find ways to get it done.
Yeah.
Like they're the rats. They
Yeah,
just sneak
exactly.
fast, man.
No, that's the thing. It's like, that first year when they made it and they lost to the.
Like they almost run like they just gave me the Tom Brady vibe.
Yeah.
Where it's like, how are you winning?
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Well, for me, it was when they made it that year, they lost to the Golden Knights, right? They weren't a playoff team. They weren't supposed to make it, I don't think. And so that's where, like, if they weren't from Florida, I would root for them. I'd be like, man, this is a real Cinderella team.
Yeah.
If they were the Wild, if it was the Wild who made it, I would have been like,
Yeah.
this is awesome. This is
Yeah.
incredible. But they're from Florida. And I hate
I
all
hate their
Florida
fans.
teams. I hate
Yeah.
their fans too.
Yeah.
Dude, it's a whole. But other matchup, Capitals versus the Habs.
Right now, I think it just took a total change.
Yeah.
Thompson, their goalie, just got injured, and the Habs just ran them on home ice.
Mhm.
I think the Habs might take the series now.
And they had that brawl, right? It was after the game.
On the sideline. No, that was in the middle of the
Was
game.
it in the middle of the game?
The
Oh,
fight
jeez.
broke out, and then
Yeah.
sidelines got cleared. But my pick would change now
Yeah.
because, first off, the first couple games, the
Caps
Capitals
looked-
almost lost
Mhm.
some of those. They almost lost.
Looking shaky.
It was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. And then Montreal's that team that just made it. They were the last team to make the playoffs. And then they just ran them on home ice.
Mhm.
And now your starting goaltender is injured where he wasn't even able to skate off.
Yeah.
Oh, I think the Caps might lose. The 1 seed
Yeah.
might lose. That's
Dude,
yeah.
that's going to be brutal for me because I have the Caps going all the way against
Yeah,
Winnipeg.
dude.
And
But like the Habs are the Cinderella team. Right now they're like America's team, but like they're from Canada.
yeah.
But like they're that team where it's like they're gonna make it out the first
Yeah.
round because everyone's rooting for them. They got the fan base. They're not supposed to win. So
I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't hate the Habs. Like, I think that they're, like, again, like that. If like it's the Florida situation I was just talking about. If the Habs are like the team, they I don't think they've made playoffs in a fat minute. So if
they're the young team now.
if
Yeah.
they upset the Caps and end up going all the way, I mean, I'm Habs all the way, baby. I
Yeah.
want to see that. Because
That'd be sick.
I have the Jets going against the Caps in the finals.
Just
So
the 1-1.
if I have the Habs going against the Jets, I want the Habs to win that all
Oh,
day
yeah.
long. I think that should be a fun one. And then the last matchup we got, to be perfectly honest with you, I forgot both these teams are even in the playoffs. It's the Hurricanes and the Devils, and I forget that they're in the playoffs because everyone always says like, oh yeah, the Devils and the Hurricanes, they're the team. I think that they're gonna be the sleeper. They're gonna make it all the way to the finals.
Whoever wins it's gonna be out in the second round anyways.
Yeah, pretty much. Like and then they get knocked out, and then you forget that they were even there. And so I have the Canes winning that one, just because I think that the Devils are good, but I don't think they're that good. Which one of the Hughes brothers do they have? They have
It's Jack or because Quinn Hughes is on
the Canucks.
So it's Jack and.
It's both brothers on.
It's both brothers.
Yeah. There's too many of them. Too many Hughes in the NHL.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's basically all the matchups for the NHL playoffs. I'm looking forward to keep watching that.
Keep watching NBA, NHL, all the playoffs.
Yeah,
man.
I'm looking forward to the Oilers getting knocked down in the first round.
My
That's
gosh.
gonna be fun.
That would be hilarious.
It'd be hilarious.
Hall of Fame hating.
But yeah, no, that's going to do it for this episode of Slice of Seattle, everybody. Thank you so much, Connor Simmons. Thank you so much, Connor Seiferling, for being guests on the show all year round. Again, like we mentioned, this is the season finale of a really great first year of this podcast. We're going to be back. We're going to do a summer episode, but we're going to be back next year to do more coverage. Please follow us on Instagram. We'll keep posting stuff, keep updates about everything. We'll keep you posted about what that next episode is going to be. Connor, both Connors, you got anything left to say before we close out this episode?
Just thank you. Honestly, this helped me have another great end to the freshman year. So there's another thing to do. And thank you, Smith, for letting us on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. It was a great to spend my Saturday afternoons doing this every other week or so. So
absolutely. Yeah, it's been great to have you guys on. Great minds, getting to talk about some of the best things in sports. But yeah, no, that's going to do it for the episode today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for listening and supporting us over this year. Please stay tuned for next year. So that's going to do it for Slice of Seattle. You're listening to it on KUGR Cougar College Radio. Remember, it is a great day to have a great day, and go Cougs.